The Musical Society of Nigeria, Muson, celebrated a historic moment today as it received musical instruments valued at over 19 million naira, courtesy of the German embassy in Nigeria. This amounts to the biggest donation that the Muson Center has received since its inception in 1983.
I really try my best to bring to the students all the things that they can prevent things, and that if things happen with the instruments, that they are able to repair it by their own. Because I think
presenting the instruments to Muson was German violinist Manuel Drominski.
I'm Manuel Drominski. I'm a violinist from Germany. I live in Munich and I work here at Muson Center.
I know the situation. You have a damage and you don't know how to repair it or whatever, and you have to go to something else. You have to spend much money for whatever. It's just a little thing you have to repair. That's why I want to give you the knowledge, also the possibilities with little things to keep your instrument really in the best condition. Here we have parts for the cello. I'm not a cello expert, but I just take it with me. I think you can use it. Well, here are 10 metronomes because I'm very strict with the students.
For me, the importance is that I could bring all the necessary items the students can take care for their instruments for themselves, for prevent damages, to prevent that in general the instruments get in a bad shape, and I don't want them to go to someone else and to spend money for things they can do by their own, and to give them the knowledge and the necessary things with the help of Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Wertz. That is, I think, the biggest importance of all this project.
Muson has been very active in promoting the enjoyment and understanding of classical music in Nigeria. We have a Muson School of Music, a diploma school, and we have an orchestra, we have a choir. The orchestra was in need of musical instruments, especially violins, violas, cellos, and double basses. And through the instrumentality of the German embassy, and one of the virtuoso violinists, Emanuel Drominski, who has been to Muson a few times, they have put together a whole series of musical instruments and spare parts, as well as things for maintaining those instruments, all together valued approximately 20 million naira. And today's ceremony was the presentation of these items by the German consul, Mr. Inge Herbert, and Mr. Manuel Drominski, who was the one who put the instruments together in Germany.
For those who don't have an application on their mobile phone. This is the very heart of, here I have to be careful with the microphone, but this is the very heart of what I could bring. This was when the project started. These are the bows I spoke about. So there are, I think, about 12 bows, 12 complete new bows. There are bows that are used, there are bows that are actually right now not, the hair is not good, but that can be changed. And I think we have, how many? Actually 3 bows, so I'm very happy to have brought these bows here.
Well, the expression classical music seems to frighten people. You know, they say it has a very esoteric connotation. But really, all the music that are played in churches and so on is classical music. You know, people say to me, what is classical music? I say, do you listen to Handel's Messiah? And they say, yes. I said, that was written 250 years ago. That is classical music. You see, and in other countries, the importance of classical music is never underrated. But in Nigeria, because of lack of exposure to it, especially in the schools, there is a general apathy towards it. But what we are doing in Muson is to try and promote the understanding and enjoyment of classical music. And I believe that any musician whether you're playing pop or jazz, should have a grounding in classical music. The basic elements of how to perform an instrument, how to read music, questions of timing and the beat and so on. These are all the major elements of classical music.
We have a huge load of strings. For the students, it's not only, I think they are not only happy because they have to get them in
Also present was Mr. Kitoye Ibare Akinson, a member of the board, Muson, in the company of Ingo Herberts, the Consul General of the German Embassy, Nigeria, and Mr. Boyega Banjo, the CEO, Muson.
Well, today's event actually signifies the policy of discipline and maintenance. All these things that have been donated today are for maintaining your instruments, mostly the string instruments. Because when you look at these instruments that artists play, they require maintenance, just like your car. They require periodic maintenance, and sometimes also some of the parts, after having been utilized for some time, they require replacement. So that's what today is all about. And we thank the German consul for that assistance.
This one needs an E string for violin. Here it is. Otherwise, he needs an E string.
It's a further, as you said, important day for Muson and the cooperation with Germany. Muson is for Germany, for the cultural cooperation, a long partner. And when it comes to classic music, Nigeria is a very special place because here in Lagos and in Nigeria they consider classic music as world music, as we in Europe consider also, for example, Fela Kuti as world music from Africa, but classical music is highly appreciated. But classic music always needs support, whether it's from the public side or from private donors. And having a classic orchestra means you also need classic instruments, and instruments must be in good shape. And we sponsored a workshop where the German violinist Mr. Drominski realized that the instruments are not in good conditions, and he proposed quite a list of adjustments, spare parts that should improve the quality of the sound and the quality of the instruments. And then we supported the first list, but when he went shopping, a German owner of a music store was so overwhelmed by the idea that here in Nigeria they play classic music but not with instruments in good conditions. So the man immediately was ready to sponsor further spare parts up to, in the end, to a volume of 20 million naira. So really for a huge part, and Mr. Drominski then contacted us again and said, how can we get all these things to Lagos? And there again, as it's part of our international cultural cooperation, we agreed to bring it into Lagos, and therefore we are both here to hand it over. Mr. Drominski for the sponsor, Mr. Hoffmann, and me as Consul General for the German government, the German Foreign Ministry and the consulate to make this impact on the instruments, of the string instruments of the orchestra of the Muson.
I already started to get one violin almost ready. This is here. And here we have two violins that came in a good condition from Germany. And now I come to the last. This is oil that I bought for you. new, you usually don't have to just use a little bit. That's why I bought much that keeps long. And this is a kind of liquid you can use to care for furniture, but you can use it for violence too. It is not 100% best way, but let's say 90% best way. So I have asked a student to bring a violin, as I found a violin here in the store. I said, do you have instruments? Do you have instruments store? They said yes. And there are some instruments in this condition. This is what I saw. Really, I was very sad about it because it is an instrument, but you can't use it. So what we will do now in the next days is we will go into the store, take all these instruments.
The importance goes back to the way Muson was founded. It's an NGO, and it had developed the principle of partnering with corporate Nigeria to realize its objectives, whether it's the objective of creating a center where activities can be held, that is the Muson Center. We are having this interview in Mobile Block. So Mobile gave us the funds to build this particular building. We have Shell Nigeria Hall, we have Ajip Nigeria Hall. So we rely on private sector support for all activities. So that is why on this occasion, when we've had so much support from the Germans, as the Vice Chairman told you, we've had a whole series of donations and financial support and non-financial support from the Germans, and we thought it would be nice to publicize this particular gesture. What they've done for us is like not just giving someone who wants food, but to teach him how to fish. So a lot of the donations will be used to maintain instruments for quite a long time. So we're trying to focus attention of other potential donors to this gesture by the Germans. That is the importance of the occasion.
So we have the strings, we have the bridge, we have the pack that is inside, we have everything that we need to restore the instrument, inclusive that what I showed, the oil and these things, to get these dirty places away. So the last time I worked with some students and I just had a very simple oil with me and I said, yeah, just use it, because usually with my violin it's enough. And then I realized it doesn't go away. Then I went to my violin maker and said, you don't believe what happened. I just wanted to show them how they can clean their instrument, but it didn't work. And he just laughed and said, yeah, that's not the way it is. Now I have received, and we will go to the pharmacy to buy some liquids and ingredients that we need. I can make the mixture here. We have all these things where we can clean the instruments. We have now all the things to repair instruments. And I think if we all together learn now how to keep the instruments in good condition, you give this knowledge to the next generation of students, then it is highly probable that all the Muson instruments will be in a good condition for a long, long time. When all the things are empty, and you can call me.
I would like to see it increasing, because I see the efforts Nigerians do, and I know it because I see everywhere where I go, it is not only sufficient to make the efforts, it is also necessary to know exactly where you go and where you bring your efforts, in which direction, with what ideas, with what discipline, and I want to help Nigerians here that at the end of a certain time, let's say a year, 2 years, 5 years, and then they have results where they really can look back and say, wow, that was a long way, but now we are here where we are.
Violin needs to be polished, you know what to do. So I'd like to thank Daniel very much indeed for this expose on violin and explanation of all the various components of violin, and for the efforts that he has made to put the whole thing together. It is commendable. Thank you very much.
I forgot something important. Usually it is not my way to be at this press conference, but I think it's in person. Mr. Hoffman is a very big fan of the Beatles, and it is kind of reminder for him that I stay here now very far from Germany, very far away from his garages where everything started. And I would just want to say thank you to him too, wearing this Beatles t-shirt. It is up to him that this is here too.
Well, we like the t-shirts. Well, so you have a formal handover. I think we just simply say we gladly accept.